Blog Talk Radio.
Enlightenment Evolution Network presents the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with your host, Rob Gauthier. Hey everybody, this is the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with your host, Rob Gauthier. The Enlightenment Evolution Hour is a part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network, and we are here to serve all of your needs, metaphysical, spiritual, mental, emotional, whatever you need, we've got it today. So, tonight is a Wednesday show, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The date is September 24, 2014. Last week I was not able to come on, so I played a repeat of Jeffrey Hoppy's show, which was a wonderful, wonderful show. Jeffrey Hoppy, great guy. I've got to know him a lot better since the show, and he is a wonderful guy. So thank you guys for your understanding. For those of you who were not aware, Kalina Angel has been in the hospital for over a week now, and that's why I wasn't able to get to the show last week. She is our Friday night host of Kalina Angel with the Earth Experience with Kalina Angel. Wonderful, wonderful lady. She hasn't been in for the last couple weeks because she's been sick. Now, all of you are aware we've been doing giveaways left and right before the 13th of this month for the channel panel event. The channel panel event was myself, Brad Johnson, Nora Harold, and Daniel Scranton all connecting, each of us channeling for an hour, and each of us sharing our own ideas and thoughts. And then John Callie was supposed to be there. He tried his hardest. Technical difficulties did not allow him to be there, so he was not able to come in. So what I did is I went in and channeled Ardif, and it was amazing. Anyone who might be interested to check that out can always go to trebchanneling.com. We're still selling audio and video of that. I put a video up on YouTube too to show everyone what that sounded like and what it looked like with audio clips and video clips. So it's a beautiful, beautiful event. But the reason I'm talking about that, Kalina got sick the night after. She was actually sick the day of. That's why she didn't go on camera. She was feeling sick. She did the entire event from the bed. Still sounded wonderful and beautiful as she always does. Still kicked it in the butt like she always does. Still moved forward. It was amazing. And the next night, not so amazing for her, not so amazing for me. She went into 103-degree temperature, stayed there for 3 or 4 days until I convinced her to go up to the hospital. She went there, and she's been there ever since. They're still not 100% sure what's going on with her. She's had 6 teams of specialists working with her and on her. She's starting to break fever by herself, but she's had continuous ups and downs with all the temperature, 103, 102 consistently every day. All of you guys have been sending your love, your healing, your prayers. All of those are truly amazing, and both of us thank you. I spent all the time from that point until this Saturday when I picked up my son. It's my 2 weeks of son, otherwise I'd be up at the hospital playing a repeat tonight. I've got to be with my son here, get him to school. All of you guys know who are parents, understand that dynamic. So all of you who wish Kalina well, thank you, all of you guys. And this is what really brought up the whole concept of what we're going to talk about tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about illnesses, why we get them, how we overcome them, what we can do to prevent them, all the dynamics involved in that. If you want to be a part of this discussion tonight, you can call in and talk about anything you want. Any sicknesses you have, any sicknesses your relative have, any ways that you have overcome these things, or even if you want to jump outside topic, feel free. Area code 347-308-8788. You can call in. For those of you who just joined, Enlightenment Evolution Hour with your host, Rob Gauthier. We're going to talk about some illnesses tonight. But before we get into there, I do want to talk a little bit about how the channel panel went. This was a big build-up. We've been talking about it for months on this show. We've been talking about all sorts of things with all the presenters. We've had our own host of Monday evening, Heart to Heart Talk Radio with Daniel Scranton. He was there with us. He was amazing. Now, his channeling's always amazing, but this evening was specifically, I would probably say it was the greatest event I have ever seen him in, ever heard him in, ever read him in. The creators and him sync so well and shared so much beautiful information in that night. Kalina was there too. Her A game was on. The person who won the tickets from here a couple weeks ago, the person who was talking about how they were going to be homeless very soon and how it was very difficult for them to get through financially, emotionally with a couple issues, and she talked about here on the show, she ended up winning the ticket that night for the event. So as amazing as that sounds, she manifested her way to a better thing, and Aradif had a very special message for her, and it was so touching. That's the one I shared on the video on YouTube. So if you are interested in checking that out, go to YouTube and just type in Sneak Peek Channel Panel. If you put in those 4 words, you'll find it. It was pretty amazing, but Kalina talked to her after Aradif spoke to her, and what Kalina said was amazing. She shared her heart with her, some of her experiences, and that's why it was so amazing. We're going to get to a lot of information tonight. We're going to get to a lot of callers tonight. But before we get there, you know that we have to pay homage to the rest of the shows that are on the Enlightenment Evolution Network. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and play those announcements for you guys right now. And once we get back from that, we will jump headfirst into illnesses, sicknesses, why we get them, how to overcome them, all of the dynamics of co-creating, anything you can think of when it comes to that. We will conjure up all the information that we can in that one subject arena. So stay tuned, and after the announcements, we will be back. This is the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with your host, Rob Gauthier, here at the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Thank you, guys, and we'll be back after announcements.
Hi, this is Karen Newman from the show About Oneness, and here's what's coming up the week starting on Monday, September 15th, until Sunday, September 21st, on the Enlightenment Evolution Network 1 and 2. Simply put, Rob Gauthier, founder of the EEN and the host of the show that started it all, the Enlightenment Evolution Hour has put together the greatest metaphysical radio network ever. 7 days a week, we have shows that will aid you on your path to enlightenment, evolution, and ascension on the Enlightenment Evolution Network 1 and 2. On EEN 1, on Mondays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, is Heart to Heart Talk Radio with your host, Daniel Scranton. Join Daniel and his featured guests discussing a wide variety of metaphysical topics. Daniel channels the Creators, the Hathors, Ophelia the Fairy, Archangel Michael, and the latest, the Unicorn Collective. Daniel and his guests will take phone calls and questions, and it's sure to generate high-frequency discussions. You can find more about Daniel at his website, danielscranton.com, and also on Facebook. Go to the Events tab on Daniel's website to learn more about Daniel's upcoming events. Daniel's guest on Monday is Helene Lipson. She will be doing readings for callers live on air. On Tuesdays at noon p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern, please join hosts Megan Crandallmeyer and Rachel Archelaus for Radio Inspiration, Expression, and Abundance for their show Soulfulpreneur. Spiritual business specialists Rachel and Megan will bring you inspiring conversations with people who are living their soul purpose. Frequent guests include psychics, mediums, channelers, coaches, artists, and authors. They end every show with psychic readings and business coaching, and your questions about your spiritual business or life purpose journey are welcome. Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, is the show that started it all, the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with host Rob Gauthier. Rob channels Treb on the first Wednesday of every month, and he will take callers' questions. And on the third Wednesday, he has special guests such as guest channelers and other metaphysical teachers. The other 2 Wednesdays are freestyle call-in shows to discuss whatever callers have on their mind. Tune in to Rob on Wednesday nights, and you can also find him at TrebChanneling.com and on Facebook at the Enlightenment Evolution Network group page. Rob has 2 special announcements. Starting this Sunday, which is September 15th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, TrebChanneling.com will be hosting an hour-long meditation class. This class will be every Sunday at 9 p.m. Another project near and dear to Rob's heart is the much-anticipated sequel to the groundbreaking film Tuning In, called Tuning In Now. The movie will feature channelers such as Daryl Anka and Bashar, Lee Carroll and Cryon, and our very own Rob Gauthier and Treb. Tuning In Now will explore the amazing work of today's top channels and how they are helping to awaken the consciousness of the planet. The film is in fundraising stages at the moment, and with a contribution for as little as $15 all the way up to $50,000, you can help make sure the movie is made. Please go to Indiegogo.com, that's www.indiegogo.com, and type in the search Tuning In Now with the number 2. That's Tuning In Now with the number 2. On Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, join host Philip Malika with the Consciousness Evolution Hour. Join Philip and his special guests and co-hosts as they discuss the shift, ascension, timelines, metaphysical concepts, and the fifth dimension. Find Philip at the Consciousness Evolution 2.0 group on Facebook and also on YouTube. On Friday, the Earth Experience with Kalina Angel at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. The Earth Experience explores our soul's expansion through our human experiences on Earth. Kalina will help you navigate and expand through the exciting confusions we are manifesting as new 5D beings. On Saturday, Odyssey of Ascension with your host, Roxanne Swainhart. Join the one and only Roxanne Swainhart for 2 hours of knock your socks off ascension downloads. Be open, be ready, and just be with her while she answers your questions about ascension, extraterrestrial, soul purpose, energy activations, and all things ascension. Roxy is a channeler and ascension guide extraordinaire in these extraordinary times. Living in San Antonio, Roxy received an awakening experience and promptly exploded onto the metaphysical scene, posting videos, blogging, doing live group channeling, and changing the lives of all she encounters. Featuring guest speakers and the channeled entities of Asiphius, the Hathor Guides, Sasani Guides, and the collective Oversoul Fire, just to name a few. Come join her for an unforgettable couple of hours on your path to enlightenment. On Sundays, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Pacific, is my show About Oneness. About Oneness is a weekly radio program focused on celebrating the ongoing conscious awakening of our planet and our realization of oneness. I'm an American originally from Charleston, South Carolina, now living in The Hague in the Netherlands. I am also an integrated channel, medium, Reiki master, and a metaphysical teacher. I have a varied and diverse background, including that of being a singer, dancer, and writer, as well as working in the sport, nutrition, and fitness world. As a channel, I bring forward the information of my non-physical guides called Theos, whose message is always that of oneness and unconditional love. This show for me is about integrating all of my experiences and following my highest excitement, which is tapping into truth to learn more about my place in the universe. If you would like to learn more about me or my upcoming guest, you can visit aboutoneness.com. The show on Sunday, September 21st, will take place live from Sedona, Arizona, with my very special guest, Kirk Nielsen, author of the book The Oneness of Us and founder of Harmonious Earth. Harmonious Earth is a new story of humanity where the goal is to follow your highest joy, live in harmony, and share all the Earth's resources. He is a dynamic and inspirational speaker, and he will be taking callers' questions. On the Enlightenment Evolution Network, too, on Tuesdays, join host Victoria Vives at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, hosting Earth Sky People Radio, your bridge between heaven and earth. Subjects will include planet Earth, becoming part of the Intergalactic Society, star seeds and extraterrestrial life, living in oneness with one another, with Mother Earth, and with life beyond the Earth, the Interstellar Alliance, also known as the Galactic Federation of Light, music, frequency, and sound healing, question and answers and interviews, shamanism, ancestral wisdom, and the star nations, self-sustainable and regenerative living, and much more. On victoriavives.com/radio, you can start submitting your questions, and she will have details about the show and about the network. Her guest this Tuesday is Dwayne Hartman, who will be conducting a live hypnotherapy and question and answer session to connect with your soul's purpose. And you may think that that's all, but there are several new shows coming for the Enlightenment Evolution Network too, including a show by the Pied Piper, as well as later this fall, a show called The Resonance Intention, hosted by Soul and Neil Gar. The Resonance Intention is dedicated to all things frequency and vibration. They will showcase conscious musicians who infuse frequency into their music and have set out to uplift and raise the vibration of humanity through their music. They will have in-depth conversations with various artists about their passion, purpose, and personal journey that led them to where they are now. Additionally, they will routinely have guests on the topics of free energy technology and other quantum modalities that are coming into existence now. The Resonance Intention is a platform for artists, musicians, and inventors to increase awareness of their personal approach in order to contribute to the paradigm shift we are currently within. And remember, you never have to miss any show from the Enlightenment Evolution Network 1 or 2. All shows are available to listen again immediately after they air on playback. All right, back to the show.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me out there? All right. Sorry about that, everybody. What happened? The announcements took a turn for the worst, and now I'm back on. So thank you, guys. The internet crashed for some reason. I hope you guys got to hear all of the announcements. I'm not sure if you did or didn't, but hopefully you did. Either way, that is the Enlightenment Evolution Network announcements. Now we're going to talk about, now we're going to talk about illness. And I'd like to have any of your guys' opinions. Feel free to call in. Area code 2, almost gave you guys my cell number. There we go. 347-308-8788. And anybody who has any information on anything, I would love to hear it. All right, sorry, I'm just making sure you guys can hear me on that side. I'm talking to Kalina via text from the hospital to the house, making sure all you guys can hear me, and then I'm back on air. My entire blog talk went out, so thank you guys for holding in there. All right, let's start from the top, okay? What is illness? What is sickness? One of the first channelers after I met Treb that verified my own work, that verified everything that was going on with me and my experience with Treb was Jane Roberts with assessment material from the 1960s. And one of the first things I heard was this thing of excerpts that had 2 one-hour clips, and it was pretty amazing to check out all of the information and see how it mixed. They were saying the exact same things that Treb was saying to me, just put in a completely different format, using different language and different slang terms and different variables on that. So it was pretty exciting to have my own work verified, but also it was exciting to hear this wonderful channel, which in my opinion still to this day is my own highest resonance channel besides my own work, is with Jane Roberts and assessment materials. So what happens, I'm listening to this, and they talked about illness, and they said that the diseases that we carry in any way, shape, or form, whether it be a minor illness, a cold, all the way to the deep cancers, HIVs, those really hard ones that usually end up taking people's lives in long runs, all of those were caused by a dis-ease in your body. Now, when you spell disease, you can break it down as dis-ease of the soul. Now, the dis-ease of the soul can create physical ailments. Now, scientists can even tell you, when they look at how the body works, biologists will tell you, people who study anatomy of the human design, all of them will tell you, when you begin to have negative thoughts, you begin to shoot off into those emotional connections like anger, frustration, jealousy, rage, impatience, all of those negative-based emotions, the ones that come from fear, those actually distress your physical body. It elevates your heart rate. It elevates your blood pressure. It decreases blood flow to the brain. It decreases all of the good chemicals that your brain releases. All of these things are happening with negative emotions to your body every time that you get into that state. So even on the most basic scientific level, this is proven. But what scientists can't see is what consciousness is. I heard one person describe how the body versus consciousness works. The best way to describe it is this. When you tear apart someone's body, if they're still alive, you can actually take pictures of the brain. You can study the brain and see when you tell your right hand to move and lift it in a waving motion, they can map out every part of your brain that does that. They can map out the part that tells certain muscle groups to move and the intent to move from one side to the next. All of those things can be measured in the brain. But what they can't measure is the thought, the idea, the intent itself to move the arm. This shows you that there is more that drives the physical body than the physical parts themselves. Nobody can tell you where that thought comes from. Luckily, we're all in this little circle, in this group, where we've studied these things and we find our own beliefs. And my belief, just as Treb is taught, just as Ardif is taught, just as all these wonderful channel entities, as well as spiritual teachers from the beginning of time have taught, that your soul is a non-physical thing that connects to your body. Your body is foreign to what a soul is. It is just a vessel to be used in this game that we call physical reality, in this existence, in this creation that we're making. We need something as a vehicle, and that's what the body is a vehicle for our consciousness. When our consciousness becomes aligned, it's only natural that our vehicle. It's like if you sit in your car and you throw garbage inside of it, and you never check the oil, you never check, all of those things are going to go to hell. They're not going to work. They're going to be dysfunctional. It's the same way. Now, we approach the idea of negative emotions versus positive emotions, and we'll get in that in a second. Actually, let's get into it now. There's two types of thoughts. There's two types of energies, two types of emotions. Now, you have the negative emotions, the ones that are negatively reacting to the body. Those are all based on fear. There are really only two emotions that we carry, fear and love. Love is the complete alignment with oneself, their true essence, their soul, with everything, with their physical body, with their environment, with their relationships. It is the true alignment of what you are. Love is what you are. When you're in alignment with who and what you are, then you feel these positive emotions. This is why all these teachers have told you, dig into your excitements, because our excitements, that's the greatest amount of joy we can have. That's the love of doing something, the love of ourselves enough to indulge ourselves into this beautiful excitement, and the love of co-creating experiences with people, or even if it's an excitement that's within yourself. All of these things show you love. Every positive emotion that you can think of, joy, happiness, giddiness, humor, excitement, all of these come from a love of one thing or another, whether it's the love of yourself, love of others, love of the task in hand. Even sexual excitement comes from a love. It comes from a love of the action of sex. When you incorporate a higher love, a love for the person that you're having that sexual relationship with, when you incorporate any type of love on a higher level during a sexual act, it makes that even. All of those things are based from a love of one thing or another. Now we go to negative. People have told me jealousy is not the same as fear. Anger is not the same as fear. Frustration, impatience, those are not related to fear. And I always explain to them, tell me any one emotion that you're feeling negative about, and I will lead you back to fear. Well, if I am jealous that my girlfriend is flirting with no, it's the fear that you'll lose her. It's the fear that you're not good enough for her to keep your eyes on. It's the fear that you can't be alone. You have to be in that relationship. All relates to fear. Anger. Well, I'm just pissed off. I'm mad. I'm angry at this person. Why? Something that they said triggered a fear in you. If they called you stupid, you probably fear that you are stupid. Or you fear that if people think of you in that way, that somehow you will inherently gain that energy. All of it comes from fear. I assure that to everyone. This is a subject I've debated and discussed with many. I don't debate. I tell people how I feel. If they don't like it, that's fine. That's how it works. It's all fear and love. Now, when we align ourselves with love, we end up to be truly aligned with our physical body. Those people that we see who live a very calm, a very loving, a very easy, mental-based life, everyone knows who I'm talking about. Those people you just can't shake. You can set their house on fire and they're like, well, at least I got my life. Those people who are centered in that wonderful mental ease, that wonderful love essence, those people can live into their late 90s. They can eat triple cheeseburgers with bacon. They can smoke 5 packs of cigarettes a day. They can drink a half a gallon of whiskey, and they live to be 90. And it's because they're aligned with their body. They are truly aligned with the energy that they are, which produces the body that they are in, which aligns them. Then we see the people who are not so aligned, the people who are easily angered, the people who are easily frustrated. Those people have health issues, and those health issues eat away at them. Now, a lot of people have talked about this. Well, if this is true, why do children die? Just like my son, he's got cerebral palsy. He's highly handicapped, and most doctors would say that he's going to live a very rough life, horrible life, all those things. He had an experience that he needed as a soul, so he incarnated into that. Some people, even in children that are 5, 6, 7 years old, vibrationally pick up fear from their parents, from their grandparents, from the people who are around them all of the time, who are always in fear, always worried, always in a negative stress. They vibrationally pick that up. And as we know, children are magnets for information. They're magnets for learning. And, you know, they say that before you're 2 years old, that you have already learned almost 90% of what you'll learn in your life. The other 10% is learned throughout the entirety of your life. I don't know if that's true, but it makes a lot of sense. When you see a 2-year-old, you see that all their functions are working if they're not incorporated into something like my son, a physical ailment, things like that. If they are in the quote-unquote normal thing, then they're already incorporating their physical body. They already start getting their own personality. Right around that age, you can kind of tell what kind of overall personality a child will have. And this is pretty amazing. You see these kids growing up, you see them gaining more of what they are, but they learn from everyone around them. When we are in our young teenage years, when we're in, I'd say probably 10 to 14, we start looking at the fact of our parents, how they are, who they are, what they are, and we're petrified of that. We're going, oh my God, I cannot be anything like my parents. It is just, they're old, they're dorky, they do this wrong, they do that. I can't do that. I'm not going to be that. And then when we get into our 30s, we start seeing how much we really picked up from them. So even young children get sick. A little off subject, but we'll go back to that whole idea. If you're not vibrationally picking up these illnesses, then they are from the unalignment in yourself, okay? Now, we're going to look at all the things that we've experienced. I want to talk about my illness. A few weeks ago, I'd say about a month ago, I was not able to come on. It was right before the big bash that Philip had. Philip Malika's our Thursday evening host. He lives in Michigan. He runs a bunch of meetup groups for metaphysics, UFO. He threw this huge party, and I was going to go to it myself, Kalina, my son. We were all going to pack up and go. I got sick right before the event. I know why. I see why. And I want to share that with you guys. I want to explain the whole dynamic of what happened. Okay? We're working up months before this. We're getting ready for the channel panel. The channel panel was huge. Energetically, I knew it was going to help so many people. It was going to be a co-creation of a magnitude that was unbelievable. So myself and Kalina worked diligently on that without a break. We would work sometimes 10-hour days advertising, making. Kalina made all the posters. I would make one of the videos. She would make a better video because she's better at it than I am. And then we would just keep co-creating and doing things like that. And then we'd do sessions, the sessions that I do with Treb, with people, just completely busy, nonstop. Now, my situation with my son, I have him every 2 weeks, and then he goes back to his mother's every 2 weeks. So I'm having him on and off every 2 weeks. The 2 weeks that he's here with all of his special needs, I spend the majority of my time doing that. Kalina loves to help. She wants to help, but she hasn't been around Jeremy long enough to learn all that stuff. You know, it took me years. It took me being thrown into that environment to be able to learn. He's had it since he was 2. Well, he's 15 now. He's also as tall as she is. He's also almost 100 pounds. So all of these things makes it difficult for her to be able to help out. She helps out a lot in the areas that she can, but she was having her own sickness for this last 2 months. On and off, she was getting sick, getting better, getting sick, getting better. In the time she was okay, we were able to co-create very quickly, rapidly. Now, something that you guys might not know about me, and this is why I want to be candid and open here tonight. You guys usually get to see the really relaxed, the really chill, the really loving part of Rob. She doesn't get to see that all the time. She gets to see the very intense working Rob. Now, one thing that is my passion, one thing that has got me through the last 5 years of my life is the work I do with Treb. This is one of my main excitements in the world. When I get into work mode, I am a Capricorn, and I am diligent in doing the work, doing it hard, doing it right, putting in long hours, putting in hard, excessive work. Kalina was having a rough time staying up with me. She is a Capricorn. Actually, she's a double Capricorn, but Capricorns have the rise and shut mode. They have the work real hard, but they have the relax even harder mode. We both have that. We both share that. But when I get intense, my level, even when I should stop, I don't. So what I was doing is I was running a ragged, and I was going beyond my own capacity because in the 2 weeks that Jeremy wasn't with me, I felt that I had to catch up for the 2 weeks that he was with me. I was only getting to work 3 or 4 hours a day when he was here, and I'm used to putting in those 8, 10, 12-hour days to doing any aspect of my work, whether it's writing with RDIF, whether it's doing sessions, whether it's making video. No matter what it is, I'm working all the time hard. When he wasn't there, I used that 2 weeks to just run ragged. I ran her ragged. I ran myself ragged. I wanted the channel panel to be perfect. This was my very first multi-channeler event. This was something that I had made promises to people with. I had told every channeler who was going to come, I'm going to make this event good for you. I want a good turnout. I want it to go flawlessly. So I had some pretty big shoes to fill in that spot. This is the first event that I've ever done as Treb channeling with myself and Kalina. This is the first thing that we ever did that had other people involved. We always done a lot of events by ourselves. We've done a lot of things with other people under other people's name, like Portal to Ascension. I've done a lot of events for them now. Conscious Matrix, obviously, with Brad. I've done a ton of stuff. I've always worked for someone else. I never was the person who had other people coming and working for my company, my work, my efforts. So it had to be perfect, and I was not going to rest until it was perfect. And I ran myself ragged. I ran her ragged. She's getting sick on and off. When she would go down, she would go down. There wasn't nothing she could do. I never asked her to move when she was sick. I never wanted to force that on her because I knew sickness is caused by stress, by negative emotions, negative energy. I didn't want to add on to it, so I took that on myself too. Now, what she does for Treb channeling is amazing. She has taken it from a place that was very simple, very easy, to a very nice, structured thing. I was very laid back in my ways that I dealt with people in sessions, and she set it up where it's really nice. She made it easy for people to communicate. She basically made it where all I have to do is get on and channel. She takes care of the communications, the emails, all that stuff she was handling for me. So when she would go down, not only am I doing my workload, I'm also taking on her workload, and then my son would come back, and then I would take that on. It wasn't a stressful thing for me all the time because I enjoy my work. I'm excited about my work. I love what I do. But with that kind of workload day after day, very little sleep, a lot of work, little breaks, and then when Jeremy would come, he would come for 2 weeks. That really kicked my butt. It kicked my butt hard. And right before my first live event with everybody here in Michigan, boom, I went sick. I got sick 3 days before, and then I started worrying about making the event. This brought a whole new level of stress on me. This brought a whole new level of work. Philip is a great friend of mine. I love this man. He is a dear, great friend to me. I did not want to ruin his event by not being there. He had been announcing this for months that I would be there, and I'm like, if I'm sick during this time, what am I going to do? If people show up because I'm there and I'm not there, they're going to be upset. I blew it out of proportion because I was already tired and now I'm sick. Now, this is one thing that not a lot of people talk about. If I'm sick, I know I can get better by centering, relaxing, focus. That's pretty hard to do when your physical body's beat. It is very difficult to do. It's hard to keep in a positive frame of mind when your body's not cooperating with you. This is something I also found out through this ordeal. I got really dramatic with Philip the day that I couldn't go. I knew I couldn't go. I tried to even hold it off till that morning. Like, hey, maybe I'll heal tonight enough where I can drive in the morning and show up for the event. No. So when I had to tell him, I was brokenhearted. I mean, it felt like my heart was ripped right out of my chest. I could not handle having to tell him that I couldn't do something that I told him I would. This is another, well, some people would say it's a character flaw of mine. I consider it just a part of me that tends to kick me in my butt most of the time. This part of me was like, I told him I was going to do it. I should do it. I don't often, when people tell me something, if I know that they're not really being truthful with me, I think it's an excuse, and I don't want to be that guy who gives excuses. I don't want to let somebody down who has faith in me, and that's one of my character flaws. We talked about that back with Helene Lipson when George was on the show, how I have this really horrible thing in me that really just beats myself up bad for letting people down, for thinking that I might have failed someone. I enjoy co-creating with people. I enjoy helping people. And when I do something that puts myself in a spot, which is very often because I overtax myself, it's funny, George comes on the show. He is organized. He wants a structure. He wants this and that. He wants an ABC, 1, 2, 3, and I just fly by the seat of my pants every moment of the day, even though I know what structure is, even though I follow somewhat of a paradigm or a specific line. I often just fly by the seat. Like tonight, I knew I was going to talk about illness. I had not one clue what I was going to talk about, and here we are in the middle of a chat. And this is what I did. And that would, like, George would be like, how are we going to do a show if we don't know what we're talking about? And then 10 minutes before the show, I'm like, hey, let's talk about this. And he's like, Rob, we can't do that. There's no way to prepare any type of dialogue or anything. So it was two different energies working against each other. And that was the kind of thing that even though I work a lot, even though I work hard, I do it in the moment. I'm a really in the moment person, and that's good in some ways. But when I can't do that, when I promise someone, hey, I'll do that tomorrow, I stretch myself outside of that now moment into the next moment, which I have no business doing, and I know that. I know I have no business promising anyone anything, because in that moment, it's either maybe not be my highest excitement, or it might not be possible because I'm doing something in the now. But I do it anyway. I do it to people because they need the structure, and I feel like to appease them. So I say, okay, I'll do this tomorrow at this time. Tomorrow at that time comes, and I'm still in my other excitement. I can't leave that excitement to jump to another one until that's complete because I'm worried about offending the person I'm co-creating that excitement with. It's a vicious cycle. And this is the energy that beats you up. Once you start looking at yourself in any negative light and any negative perception, your energy begins to drain. You actually begin to unalign yourself where the energy that you should be is no longer there. Therefore, it does not feed your body the correct thing. It's just like filling up a gasoline car with gelatin. It's not going to work. It's going to malfunction. It's going to disconnect. It's going to run like crap. And that is what we do with these negative thoughts, negative energies, negative perceptions, hate, frustration, racism, even some sexuality has that energy too. Deviant sexuality has an energy of forcing your will upon others. A lot of people have real bad stigma, child molesters, rapists. A lot of people have bad stigma on them, and I understand they have to have their experience. I try not to judge that. But when they take away free will from other people, then it's harder for me to see it. And I'm like that with anything. If someone forces their girlfriend to go to a movie with them that they don't want to go, that upsets me just as bad because someone's infringing on another person's right, desire, and freedom to do what they want to do. And I know that nobody can take me outside of my moment of excitement or freedom. It is very rare when that happens. And when it happens, I don't feel energetically tampered with. I don't feel infringed upon. I know that I've co-created that to some level, but some people take that personally. Some people take that energy like, why are you taking from me? Why are you stepping on me? All of these types of things can lead to negative perceptions. Those negative perceptions manifest in different ways. Now, there is a system for how it manifests out. This is the energetic grid within our body called the chakra system. The chakra system, 7 basic lined energies within our body. Each one has a different representation of a different part of our life that we live. The most basic part is our first chakra, the safety. Most of you guys who are listening know this stuff, but we're going to run over it real quick. The safety issues, feeling like you're a part of your environment. That's a big thing. That's the first chakra. Second, the sexuality, masculine versus feminine, sex in sexuality itself, all of those things, comfort, discomfort, that's the second chakra. Third chakra is your own independent self, your independent human consciousness as me versus the world, me versus you, me separate from you, me outside of you, my own personality trait. It also deals with jumping outside of living in the now. If you go forward in time, backward in time, you're affecting your third chakra too. Fourth chakra is love. That's an easy one. All of you guys know how love works. Unconditional love is the prime energy for that chakra. Treb said before that most people on this planet will never achieve true unconditional love, but when you strive for that unconditional love, you're aligning with your energy. We understand we're at a point of the evolution of our soul where we have to do certain things. We're not able to really reach certain points, but we try, and that's the beautiful part. The more you try, the more you grow. That's love. Next one, wisdom, throat chakra, wisdom and speaking your truth. That comes in the throat chakra. The third eye has to do with combining love and wisdom. It also has to do with your inner sight and external sight. Then we have the crown, which is the last, seventh chakra. That has to do with overall enlightenment, making the best out of all the things below, aligning yourself truly with all that is, all the people around you, whatever it is, aligning yourself. Now, let's say you get frustrated about a relationship. Let's say that in this relationship, this person that you're with won't work. So you feel like you might lose your house at any time. You can't pay the bills yourself. You're having a horrible sex life, and they're always running late on bills because of the money. Now you've just dipped into the very first 3 chakras. It depends on which one of these 3 bother you the worst to what your illness is going to be. When you look at the money issue, the safety issue, your first chakra, this incorporates all the things. When you look at your body, you see that it's right at your tailbone. This could be anything to do with your digestive system, your anal cavity, your legs, knees, feet. Those are often first chakra things. The second chakra has to do with all of your sexual organs, your hips, your lower abdomen, your lower back. The third chakra is to do with the lower lungs. It has to do with some of those fancy schmancy organs that I've been learning a lot about lately due to Kalina being in the hospital, spleen, stuff like that. Then the heart chakra incorporates the lungs, obviously the heart, in between second and third, spleen, liver, all those things. Then you go to that throat chakra. This includes your throat. It includes certain glands. Third eye is the brain, the eyes, the ears. The crown chakra is usually, energetically, systems that go through the entire body. Your nervous system, your lymph node system, your upper brain, the top part of your brain, the cerebrum, I believe. Those different energies affect different parts of your body. Now, because, let's say the sex part bothers you more than anything, you can handle not paying the bill, which is third chakra because you're always worried what's coming next. You're always looking back at the past. He didn't get a job. She didn't get a job. This is going to happen. Bad, bad, bad. Forward, backward. That's third chakra. Second chakra, the sexual. You're frustrated. I cannot have sex with this person. This person just makes me so mad and pisses me off. I can't do it. Or the other person just doesn't have a sexual energy and you do. I'm mad. This is going to affect a lot of things in your thing. Now, impotency happens much to males. Venereal diseases, infections, ovary problems, fallopian tubes, all of these sexual organ parts are really badly affected. Usually when you have a disease in any of those areas, it's because of a second chakra issue. It doesn't have to be sex itself. It can be your masculine or feminine energy. A lot of women don't feel they're woman enough. And a lot of men don't feel that they're man enough. This causes huge imbalances in that chakra. This causes a lot of physical ailments in those parts of your bodies. It's the same with anything. You pick an organ, you pick a spot in your body, you can pretty much correlate that that's where most of your emotional issues are coming from. Now, how does that work? What are the dynamics? What are the physics of that? Well, basically what you're doing, and I've seen that someone called and dropped off. I'm sorry. I'm just getting through some more basic stuff here. If you call back and throw up the number 1, that means you want to talk. I'll be taking calls pretty soon as I get done with this part. But any organ you get, any bad thoughts, connections, any of those types of things that you're feeling, you can really choose which part of the body and see how that chakra correlates. A lot of people don't know this. This is something that I've just found out recently in the last 6 months, that there in the chakra system, we all have spirit guides or energy guides, whatever you want to call them. A lot of these are chakra-specific guides, and I was not aware of this till Treb and Ard have shared this recently. What they said is that there'll be a guide. Most humans have 3, and each one of them cover a different part of your chakra system. The average person does 1, 2, and 3. Chakra 1, 2, and 3 belong to an entity who is very earthbound, who is very masterful in the earth experience. The heart chakra is always to someone who's mastered love. The higher ones are usually like those shamans or medicine men, people like that who've mastered the more etherical. And when you come into problems, you can usually connect to these guides to gain information, insight, or contrast, whichever you prefer, to gain more insights on that. Now, If you guys are just joining us, this is the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with your host, Rob Gauthier. We're talking about illnesses, how your thoughts, emotions affect your physical body, and how to overcome them. Right now, we're just getting into the end of our chakra talk. I think I've given enough information on that. You guys understand how that works. What I'm going to do now for a quick minute, I'm going to play a little relax music. I need to take a drink. I'm going to take that 1 hour break. I will be back in 3 to 5 minutes, so breathe, enjoy yourself. If you have any questions about anything we talked about, anything on subject or off subject, feel free to call area code 347-308-8788 and hit number 1 so that your hand comes up so I know that you have a question and want to talk to me on air. That will let me know that you're not just calling in from your phone to listen, but you actually want to engage in part of the conversation. Feel free to give that a call. I will be back in 3 to 5 minutes. Thank you guys, and I love you. See you in 1 minute. Enjoy. 2 very wonderful Korean women whose names I can't pronounce who are presenting. You know what? Actually, I'm going to skip that. What I'm going to do is play a new music from Maria Leonard and Diamond Setter. This is the break music that they are sharing with us. On the other side of the break, I'll give you a little more information on how you can purchase this music if you enjoy it. Enjoy Maria Leonard and Diamond Setter, track number 4. All right, everybody. That was Mary Leonard and Diamond Setter. Now, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about that specific album. What it is Align. You can go to sellfy.com and you can type in Diamond, like the gym, Diamond Setter, and Maria, that's Maria, Leonard, Leonard, and Diamond Setter. You can look that up, and they have this beautiful album for sale. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what this music is real quick. Basically, why they composed this. This album was composed for healing purposes. It cleanses and energizes our chakras. It also can be used to cleanse a room energetically. It can be used for anything you want it to. Align one. Let me see which track that was. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do this on the fly. Like I told you guys, I'm by the seat of my pants every second of every day. Align, track number 4. That was called the Gauthier Mantra, and that was by Diamond Setter and Maria Leonard. So you can buy the entire album for $15 at Sellfy. That's SELLFY.com if you enjoy the music. If not, then it's always great to hear something new, but I think it's pretty amazing stuff. It's a great couple who have given us that to share with the collective for that purpose alone, to help get your guys' chakras lined up while you're on break. So thank you guys for sharing that with us on the Enlightenment Evolution Network, and thank you all for listening. Now, back to where we were. Gayatri Mantra. Sorry, my Hindi is not where it should be. Self-admittedly, I'm faulted in that area. Kalina, on the other hand, my fiance, the one who we've been talking about, that was in the hospital, she is actually quite amazing at that. Sanskrit, sorry. See? I told you I was horrible at it. Thank you for that, Kalina. She is definitely joining in our conversation via text on my phone as she listens to every single one of my shows, and I do. She's my biggest fan. I'm her biggest fan, and that's the way it should be when you really, really love somebody. So supporting each other's things, that's a good thing for relationships, but we could talk about that all other times. And I want to tell Kalina personally, I love you very much, and thank you for doing what you're doing there at the hospital to get yourself back home and back to your radio show quicker. So many people have sent love, and Kalina wanted me to personally thank everybody who sent her a prayer, everyone who sent her good intent, everyone who sent her love, healing, Reiki, whatever it is that you've done. You have helped her co-create a reality where she's feeling so much better in this last 2 or 3 days than she has the entire 2 weeks before. She was at some pretty rough points, as we talked about, a little worse than probably what I've talked about, but all those things, she's getting better, and that's the motivation for the show tonight, talking about these ideas. Now, we talked about where physical ailments come from, how they affect our bodies, what emotions, what ideas affect what parts of the body. Now let's talk about overcoming them. This is the easy part, and this sounds like it might not be the easy part, but this is really, truly the easiest part. It's to align yourself with what you are, and that sounds easy when I say it. When you go to do it, it's a different question, or it's a different idea completely at some points, but it can be easy. This is the hard part that all of us have had to deal with since childhood. We've been modeled after the people, our predecessors, our parents, our ancestors. We've been modeled to think a certain way. We've been modeled to live a certain way. We've been modeled to react a certain way, and when we do that, wow, we are just giving in to that same old paradigm energy that we're trying so desperately to get out of. This is another point. The word desperately came out of my mouth, and this doesn't have to be true. See, my own conditioning brought along that word, that vocabulary that brought up. So let's dive into that. Some of us go through this process of spiritual growth, the process of expansion within oneself. Some call it ascension. Some call it just plain old growing into themselves. Whatever you label it as, the idea is the same. What the whole concept is that we believe we have to struggle to achieve this in fighting inside of yourself. When you fight yourself, when you fight inside of yourself, you're manifesting more things to fight. This is where most often the mistakes are made when we're trying to evolve. Evolution should be easy. It is the path of least resistance within ourselves, the path of least resistance when we co-create, and when we do these things, it should come as easy as your excitement. When you wake up in the morning and you walk by this beautiful bouquet of flowers, you have to put your face in there and go and sniff it, because that's the way you're built. That's your excitement. That comes easy. It doesn't always come easy. We can set ourselves in modes and moods where it doesn't. But in the majority of us who are trying to expand, those little moments are very easy. We have to take the bigger issues at hand and make them that easy. We have to be able to go sniff our designated flower of the day. Whether it be, we have to sniff our relationships and smile. We have to sniff our loved ones and smile. I know that sounded really horrible, but we have to do that. We've got to go and sniff all of these wonderful things in our life. And the more we do that, the more we find resonance in ourselves, because we're not resisting who we are. Now, this goes the other way. There are some people who are just homicidal and they have to stifle that. And I'm not saying it's good to go out and kill people, but if you're feeling these emotions, they're there for a reason. If it excites you, if you truly gain genuine happiness and excitement out of being a really horrible person by other people's standards, when other people see you as horrible, this is something that all of us do. We have these things that we enjoy that some other people think are weird or bad or negative. We have to ignore other people's perception. This is the one thing I think that gets more than anybody I know. When you're in the limelight, so to say, when you're talking about certain things, when you teach spirituality in any way, shape, or form, there's always a perception that you have to be better than everyone. Well, I've broken down that paradigm many times in the show. I channel. I'm in there connecting with some of the greatest channelers in the world. I work side by side with these people, and I'm proud of that. But I can still have really horrible days. I can still think really bad thoughts. I could still limit myself in such a horrible way. And none of us are immune to our own stupidity. None of us are immune to our own sadness. None of us are immune to our own dysfunctions and imbalances. When we do act out on our imbalances, when we say, you know what, I hate this world, and kick the mailbox, stop beating yourself up about it. Accept where you're at in every moment. Acceptance of the natural flow is the easiest thing that can get us through physical ailments. When we feel like crying, it doesn't matter if there's a room full of people. I am one of those who are uncomfortable to cry in front of people who I don't know. I can get on this show and cry, no problem. I know that all of you are here, are accepting, loving. You know who I am. Even if you're just checking it out, you've stayed on the air long enough through my talk where I know that something is resonating with you. I can share that moment with you. If I'm out in public and there's 100 people I don't know, it's hard for me to cry. But I find myself able to do more of these things, more of the things that once I couldn't do. I just don't care what other people think anymore. I know that this life is mine. I know that if I don't live it in the exact way I want, that misery will follow me around. I don't want to be in misery. I've done things in my life that were just completely miserable because I felt the need to appease other people. And this is my new self. This is the self I've invented more and more for the last 2 years. I broke away from those paradigms. The marriage that I got out of, as much as I love that person, in many ways we didn't resonate in a lot of ways. The same love that I had for that person in the beginning, I didn't have in the end. I didn't love her the same way. I loved her as a human. I loved her with all the common things that we shared, but the energy of co-creating together didn't excite either one of us. So it was time to disconnect. All of these things, I've been breaking myself. If it doesn't resonate, I don't do it anymore. I only live in the things that I am excited to do. And every time I break that rule, I suffer. I suffer with illnesses, like last month when I'm beating myself up and trying to appease other people and trying to get things done, thinking that I'm on some sort of non-existent schedule, then my body follows. But when I'm smiling, when I can visit one of the greatest people in my life, one of the people who I love the most, her and my son are the two people that I share most love with, was sick in the hospital, didn't know what was going on. By all doctors' admissions, it could have been something that was a death sentence. It could have been that serious. I chose not to give in to my fear of losing her. I chose not to give in to my fear of what would happen further down the road if she was very sick. And then there would be a lot of hardships that came with that. All of these things I chose not to dive into. The way it works for me is when my mind goes to those areas, when I start to entertain any one idea about anything that doesn't resonate with me or doesn't really align, I stop myself in that moment and say, hey, why entertain something? Let's live in the now. And I bring myself back to that now moment. What annoys most people about me is actually my greatest saving grace. It is my greatest attribute and my greatest gift to others. I am able to live in a moment. I am able to live in this moment. Now, there is something that was very amazing, and I actually shared this with Kalina today. And this is a old famous saying, and it's not really old, it's only a few years old. It's about living in the now. Master Oogway from the famous cartoon Kung Fu Panda, and I know that's ridiculous to quote a cartoon, but it's the most resonant concept of living in the now. He says that yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why it is called the present. And every time I hear that, it makes me emotional. And I've heard so many people, it's stupid you cry over a cartoon. I don't care. That's why I'm at the spot. That's why I'm smiling today. I don't care. Things that other people are seeing don't bother me because I'm in this moment. And I have begun to master that, and the more I master that, the better my life is. Some people will look and say, what about this in your life? What about that in your life? This can't be fun. It's all beautiful. It's fun. It's exciting. Because it doesn't resonate with someone doesn't mean I have to change who I am. It doesn't mean I have to do something that goes against my grain as a human, my grain as an individual consciousness, my grain as a soul who's come to have an experience. I will not let anyone get in the way of my experience. And every time I do, I suffer. Every time you do, you suffer. Every time you do for long periods, you build resistance in your energy. This resistance in your energy will manifest into illness of one sort or another. Now, knowing this scares some people, and then they start getting fearful about being sick. Well, if you're living in the now, if you're excited, if you're doing all these things to be who you are, you don't have to fear. And by fearing, you're just going to pull yourself into that energy that you don't want. Law of attraction is something we've talked about so many times on this show. Treb's talked about, Art has talked about. The Hathors, Creators, Osifius, Oversoulfire, all of these entities who have shared their information on this network have talked about law of attraction. And what do they always say? They're always telling you that when you live in any portion of your existence that's happy, you're able to manifest the things you want. But the reason that most people can't manifest is because of their fears and expectations. Those are very, very difficult energies to live in. It's very, very hard to try to exist into an energy that's resonant when you're always being fearful of everything. Oh, wow. Kalina just sent me about 1 million quotes about living in the now. And I'm going to share one of them. I'm going to pick a random one. Ooh, Albert Einstein, let's choose his. Learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Well, that's very interesting. That's a very interesting quote. Every day is a new opportunity. You can build on yesterday's success or put its failures behind and start again. That's the way of life. With a new game every day, and that's the way baseball is. Bob Feller, sports life success, great. So all these are really great. Thank you, Kalina, for sending me those. Oh, yesterday is a history, tomorrow is a mystery, today is God's gift, and that's why we call it the present. Ooh, a Joan Rivers spinoff on Master Oogway. I wonder which one came first. Interesting. Thank you, Kalina, for sharing that with us. I'll share that on my Facebook, too, because it's really important to realize the power of now. I know I've been spinning my wheels here. Anyone wants to call, feel free. Area code 347-308-8788. Hit 1 so I know you want to talk. I see a lot of callers on hold, but none of them got their hands up. I'll keep talking. You guys know I will. I'll talk holes in your ears if you allow me to, so no worries about that part. Getting over illness when you're ill, let's talk about that, okay? Let's talk about how difficult that can be. We talked about how when your body's unaligned, it's hard to keep positive thoughts, positive energy flowing. Sometimes you need the illness to make the perception. And what I mean is sometimes you have to allow yourself to slow down long enough to be able to look at all the things that you are doing that don't resonate, or look at the things you're not doing that could resonate. Again, using my own illness for an example, it took me 3 days of beating the crap out of myself about what happened with Philip to make my realization that I was putting in too much energy into just work alone, that I was skipping energy when it came to my relationships. My son was always being taken care of. I spent time with him. I did the things I needed for his well-being. But when me and Kalina would have time together alone, we were working. We very seldomly, we went out for a movie, we went out for some drives, went to the coffee store, did it, things like that were simple, but we never sat at home and talked for that whole 2 sets of 2 weeks, so 4 weeks altogether before that happened. I was working so hard to get things around for the channel panel. She was working so hard to get it around that it made me sick. And when it made me sick, I had time to slow down my environment. I manifested that illness not just from the imbalance of my thoughts, not just from trying to appease people, but it was also there for a larger reason. That's the one thing that a lot of us don't look at when we're looking at the bad things in our life that we manifest. We look at, well, this is crappy, this is good, A, B, C, D, E, F, all these things, but we never look at the bigger picture. When I was sick, I was able to actually sit down and look. And through my illness, through my misery of the physical body of shutting down, I made that realization. When I made that realization, the next day my body got better. The day after that, I was completely better. And it was because I let go of the baggage. I let go of that energy that no longer belonged to me. That's the power of living in the now. That's the power of knowing what you want. That's the power of not caring what others think when you don't live their dream for them. all these things are capable of putting you in the best spot, and sometimes we need adverse. I am one of the hardest learners ever. You got to put me through the grinder before I learn my lesson, and I don't know why. I've tried to realize that and tried to circumvent it, but there's something in me that doesn't allow that. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do things my way until I learn the hard way, a better way to do it. So I'm stuck on that perpetual thing, and this was the same thing. I had to, my body had to break. And for most of you who know me, I don't get sick that often. I get sick maybe once every 2 or 3 years. And if I do get sick, it's usually very mild, like a cold. When I get the flu, when I get illness, it's bad. But that's because also my personality, I hold a lot of things in. Sometimes I don't speak my truth enough. Sometimes I don't tell people when what they're doing is affecting me. And I don't tell them because I want to guilt trip them. I don't tell them because I want them to change what they're doing to appease me. When I tell someone, I tell them because I need to tell them. I need to explain, hey, when I interact with you in this way, this is what happens to me. This is what affects me. This is how my energy co-creates with yours. And if you really want relationships with people, if you really want co-creations, you have to share that part of you. There are some of us who believe in monogamy. There are some of us who believe in one partner, whether it's death do us part or when you stop resonating or vibrating. This is different for everybody. But when you go into a relationship with one person and one dynamic, you have to share these things. If you let someone live their existence and not tell them how their existence interacts with yours, you're not truly co-creating. You're cohabitating. And cohabitating is not enough. If you want a successful energetic exchange, you have to co-create. You can't cohabitate. When you just cohabitate, things get rough. I have a friend who had this girlfriend, and they lived together. The guy was on disability. His girlfriend was also on disability. They lived in the same house. None of them worked. They were there in front of themselves 24 hours a day. And he told me one day, I wake up sometimes in the morning, I look right next to me, to my girlfriend who's laying in bed to me, and I think to myself, do I have to live another day with that stupid person sitting in my face all the time? Why am I so sick of this person? And I'm like, you have to tell that person that. Oh, I could never say that. Well, the relationship dissolved. There was no communication. There was no true telling of the heart from one to the other. So that relationship never made it past any other significant point. This is important when you co-create. Co-creation is a big part of illness, a big part of a lot of things. We're going to go ahead and take call. 352 area code. This is Sister Savita, who is actually quite a specialist when it comes to physical ailments, physical injuries, things of the medical nature. How you doing, sister?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you beautifully. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, honey. You made me laugh. I'm quite a specialist. I'm not. I'm just a nurse.
So how's everything going for you?
Everything going great, actually. It's life is beautiful. I have my days, but it's okay. I'm happy.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's important, too, not beating yourself up when you don't have a good day, right?
Yeah, I just take it, it's a day. Okay, just take it. I do not know it's a good thing or it's a bad thing or it is what it is, actually. I'm more into the neutral state nowadays, for everything. Whatever is happening, it's okay. It's happening,
That's a good place to come from.
Yes, but sometimes, I feel that this place is like, it's like, I don't care kind of a place, You know what I mean? but it's not that I don't care. It's that I think I don't know. It's like I am. I used to enjoy those talks, when you discuss pro and cons, you discuss the deep talks, you discuss the all those dynamics and all. But I think I'm at that place now. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters, that
Aw.
calmness and peace inside you, that um, zero state. I don't know how to explain it. It
No,
is what it
I think I
is.
do understand. I think that that's actually not a bad place to come from at all. A lot of the type 1 entities that we talk to, Treb, Ardif, they all come from a place of neutrality. Um, the way that it's different, though, when we experience that as humans, we're experiencing a very neutral state. When we get neutral, we get exactly like you said. There's not a lot of emotion in it. It's just kind of neutrality. They are able to have neutrality with tons of love behind it. So it makes it very exciting and very exuberant, and it makes it different than the way we do it. But it's a learning process. The longer you stay neutral, the more you can attach yourself when you need to, and kind of detach yourself when you don't. Is the feeling that you get is that you're almost indifferent to things now, where it doesn't really matter how it goes or what
No,
happens?
no, 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 no. It's not indifferent. It's like, okay, take example of Kalina's sickness. Every day I think about her. I send my love to her, and it's not that it doesn't bother me. It does bother me that, okay, I love her a lot. I deeply love
Sure.
her. So when she's sick, so that my heart, the compassion in the heart is there. you know but on other hand, uh I am it's not the hurt. Like, when it used to be like, if my loved one is sick or something, it used to hurt. So it doesn't hurt anymore. It is like, it is what it is. It's not gonna stay long, and although, I'm just saying that, but maybe in the back of my mind those things goes on, but I do not perceive it that way. It is what it is. She is sick. That's the reality of the time. She is sick for a reason, and it's gonna be over. You know,
So it's no longer
because
indifference, it's actually become acceptance.
yes, you can say that. Thank you. Yes, acceptance of I know. Thank you. Yeah, acceptance of what it is. It is what it is. And um, e- everything has a reason of what it is. You know what I mean? It
I
doesn't it
do.
doesn't hurt. It does not go inside me the way it used to before. You know, and when I go deeper into myself, then it's a very that place is um it's like there is nothing there. Um, I don't
In
know how
my
to put it
opinion,
in words.
sister, yeah, no, I understand exactly what you're saying. And in my opinion, that's actually a very healthy place to come from. When you know that the universe supports each and every one of us, when you know that everything will play out as it should be and that each person creates their own reality and you accept that that reality is being played out, that in itself is a great place to be. It's a place where you don't have to attach yourself to worries, concerns for others. You just accept where they're at, and that's a beautiful thing.
Hmm. Hmm. And a few things goes in me, and like I'm kind of wondering about one thing because I have very logic mind. Man, I gotta understand what's going on. So I was going through one um like a strong desire in me, and I was putting out so much of energy towards that desire, and it just happened. I do not understand how that happened. I need to understand probably. But things works out inside, it was, I knew it that I'm getting too much into this want of something, and then something happened all of a sudden, and I'm in peace. So, there are systems, Rob. There are systems which operate on very larger levels. Our human mind is, I think, it's quite limited. We keep on discussing, we keep on using our mind, but things are really very big, very huge, very big.
Sure. And that's like I said, it's when you get to a point where you're able to allow, accept, and just let things flow. A lot of the day-to-day worries tend to melt away. And I know that when George was with us on this show, he talked a lot about how he changed his entire life by being able to perceive neutrality. And it was a concept that was really new to both of us. We always understood the importance of neutrality, how we could use it to our benefit, but he figured out a way to incorporate it, and it caught on. And a lot of the times that it carried on for me, I still have that feeling, in my heart. I will see, like for Kalina, we're using that for the example, I still care what happens, but I'm not going to invest worry into something that hasn't happened yet. The doctors weren't aware of what the diagnosis was. They still aren't. They're still trying to figure that one out. But they go through and they say it could be this, it could be that. So I would not invest myself into any fear, any worry or concern unless there was a need to be worried. And at that point, because they didn't know, I had no reason why, so I could still give this great love to her. I could still share my mind and my heart with her, and I never had to worry about attaching myself to an issue of worry or concern. And that's difficult for people who are very loving and very giving by nature to be able to do that, because it's so hard to not invest yourself into someone that you love. And when you're able to do that, it makes things a lot. That's what got me through this whole last few weeks dealing with this with her. Is just I refuse to attach myself to a reality until it presents itself. And by doing that, I feel that I was a part of the co-creation of wellness that she's feeling now. I mean, I didn't do the work for her by any means, so I won't take credit for that, but I didn't add to it by worrying about it and forcing my own negative perceptions on that.
Rob, it's always, you remember one time when I was going through, that time, so-called hard time in my life when I decided to go for the divorce, and had a session with Treb, and I asked Treb, is he going to be okay? And Treb's answer was, he is going to be okay. I mean, this is the definition of you're okay, whatever situation, whatever condition, whatever place, whatever time we are okay. So, that phrase, it's kind of play in my head all the time, Rob. Whatever I see, I in my day-to-day life, things happen. My work, my home, my relationship, everything. This thing plays in my head all the time that it is okay, Whatever is happening, it is okay because we are okay all the time, I mean,
yes.
It does. I mean, seriously, it does. And it just amazes me. Like, I amaze myself, It just, I know. It is, everything is okay the way it is, So, now, when you are in Kalina's sickness and everything, and trust me, after 2 months, when she'll get better and everything, when you go back and examine things, you will see huge picture. And it's going to be beautiful.
Oh, yeah. I'm already starting to see a large part of this picture of what's going on, but the reason I didn't share too much of that is because that's kind of her story to tell. a lot of that creation came through with her. So I decide to bring my point of view to that. And I want to ask you something. You work around sick people every day. You work with people who are ill as a nurse, and the question to me would be, when you see someone who is very low emotionally, who feels bad about things, who's scared about things, do you ever notice a change in their physical as soon as their mental changes?
You know, those people who are scared, it's a trust issue. You know, they need a lot of love. You know, because when I see them, I sit with them, hold their hand. It's it's all trust issues. I mean, on as a nurse, you know, I as a nurse plus as a spiritual person, I'm talking combinedly. You know, it's 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 anxieties, and it's a trust issue. It is, they are scared. So the same thing, you know, if you make them understand A to Z, it doesn't matter who it is, you know. If you make them understand that everything is okay, you know, it's a fear of losing. It's a fear of am I getting too much, or I mean, I don't know how to put it in words. You know,
I understand.
Need lot of love, not lot of love, and
when you see
and trust and faith in the universe,
sure,
and in everything, that everything is okay. Because I remember, you know, when you tell me this thing, I remember a lady, you know, came in, and she was I went in for my rounds, you know. So I asked her how she doing, and she said she's okay. And you know, when she was talking, and then we kind of figured out that she was manifesting cancer of the throat. She was not. It was not diagnosed as a cancer, but we were thinking that it's gonna be cancer. So she was scared, and the thing was that you know, talking to her, I could figure out that she was concerned about her husband. Her husband was 88 years old. He was 10, 15 years older than her, and he was going down the hill. And they had a great relationship. So now the problem with when you have a great relationship, when you are into each other, when you then it comes the fear of loss. So she was making herself sick because she was scared that he's going down the hill and I'm going to lose him. You know, if he will die, then what I'm going to do? So it took me so much of time to sit with her and make her understand the whole thing. You know, as I said, this thing plays in my head all the time. Everything is okay. You know, these attachments, they are beautiful, but it's a faith issue. You know, we gotta understand. And this understanding doesn't come that way, you know, Rob. It just happens inside, you know. It just a leap inside your heart. It's just an expansion of your own energy, expansion of the subconscious, you know, subconsciousness, that on the soul level, you know, that you just understand that we do not go away anywhere. You know, these attachments are beautiful, but it should not come in our way. You know, understanding our own beauty, understanding and respecting others' beauty, and understanding that the truth, you know, that that calms us, that gives us peace. So yes, as a nurse, I did see a lot of people, you know, a lot of people who are stuck. Like I was listening to my dad's session today for some reason, and it just, it just happened. I was thinking about my dad, and I just put on the phone, and it just started playing. And I was listening to the same session. You remember when my dad died?
I do.
So, and the same thing. Oh my God, it's playing again, Rob. The same thing. You know why my dad was stuck for 7 days on this earth plane? Because he has those attachments of love, and he was scared. He was not scared to go to other side. It was painful. It was painful to go to the other side, because he loved his children so much that he was worried that if I'm going to leave, what will happen, kind of thing. So.
Well, sure. And that attachment too does bring a lot of fear. It's some people take it to a different extreme. They take it to that place where attachment means they can't love or connect. I hate to do this, sister, but we've only got about 20 minutes left, and we got 2 other callers who got their hands up here. Thank you for calling in and sharing with us and talking with us. I love you very much, and you've added a lot to this conversation.
Hey, Treb. So, Rob, hey, listen.
Yeah.
Hey, if you have time when these callers are done, that's why I called in, actually, I raised my hand. I wanted to know what Treb says, what Treb view, what he thinks, I know he doesn't give you a lot of information, he will give you, but what he thinks about all that. So when you have time later on. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'll take this next caller, and then I'll have a chat with Treb while we're doing that, and then I'll share that. Thank you, sister, again. I love you very much, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay. Thank you, honey.
Oh, you're welcome. I love you.
I love you
Bye.
too. Bye.
All right. We've got a caller from 832 with their hand up. Remember, all other callers, if you want to talk, hit number 1 on your phone or dial pad on Skype. That'll bring you right to the call board with a question raised. 832, who do we have with us this evening?
This is Chris.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. Just trying to tune back into your show. I had to take care of the little one. I don't know if you had any perspective coming from a medical side as far as illnesses go. For instance, I have a medical background, and I was just curious if anybody else has come onto the show and talked about that yet.
Yeah, well, the last caller that we had has been a practicing nurse for many years. We were just talking about how the patients that she has, how when they gain attachments to people so strongly that it can affect their illness. Medical things, we could go a ton of different ways with that. Is there one specific area of the medical concept that you wanted to cover? Because we've got about 15, 20 minutes left on the show, and I could probably talk hours just about that, too.
Okay, well, I'll focus on the relationship between the microbial infections, viral infections. Is it something that the vibrational state that you're in because of the negativity that you are experiencing, if your defense system is down, and allow you to be more susceptible to those type of infections? Because I see a lot of patients in the hospital that have bacterial infections that are eating down to the bone and aren't getting better, and it just makes me wonder from day to day, what makes you more susceptible? I mean, other than the fact of from what we perceive and what we learn by cleanliness, making sure that your area is sterile and whatnot. But I mean, why are these kind of things happening in that sense?
Sure. Absolutely. Well, first of all, let's talk a little bit about your specific case in general. Where do these infections tend to manifest out on your physical body the most? Does it come in one area, or is it all over the place?
It just depends. It depends on person to person. I'm just speaking from an observational view because from my standpoint, I've been fortunate enough, I guess, where I haven't experienced these type of ailments.
I see what you're saying. Okay, well, we did touch a little bit about this before on the show about how certain parts of the bodies become affected, but basically what we covered is that your chakra system is aligned with certain things, and usually when people get ailments in certain parts of their body, it aligns with a certain chakra, and that chakra aligns with a certain emotional distress. The example I gave is that a couple fights about money, they fight about sex, and they're worried about other things, so that manifests usually in their second chakra area if they're most concerned about sex, in their lower legs or down by their anus area, if it's anything to do with money, or if it's to do with looking in the future or past, then it'll go in their lower organs. That's usually how it tends to work out, but not always. With something like this, you're talking about a whole body situation. For those who are getting multiple infections throughout their body, depending on where the physical system is, if it's a system that starts off in a gland, and this gland is in your pancreas, let's say, then the pancreas area aligns with the third chakra. That's where the problem's coming from. But if it's something like a nervous system disorder or a lymph node, that is an entire body situation, which is usually found in the crown chakra. The crown chakra relates to your overall sense of well-being, your overall sense of spiritual, mental, and emotional being. Whenever your emotions are so widespread and so where you're worried about everything, that's usually in the crown chakra area, which then spreads out to the entirety of your body. So you're absolutely right. All of these things, bacterial infections is a co-creation with a second density entity, and Treb's kind of relaying this as we're talking. That brings a whole nother level too. When you're co-creating with bacteria, viruses, fungus, you're also co-creating with second density entities, and you're doing that for many, it can be for many reasons, but the most common one amongst humans is that there is a need to be more in their animalistic side, that they're so far into their etherical side that they can't ground themselves, and by not grounding, you have to co-create with these life forms with lower amounts of consciousness. So that's really why people usually co-create with those second density entities that we perceive, viruses, bacteria, funguses, things like that. Now, this bacterial infection, eating at the bones, this can be caused from pretty traumatic stuff. If it's eating at the bones in a localized area, then we have to correlate that to that chakra too. But this is how physically the mechanics of it works, and that's why it's kind of very important to know case by case of how these things work out and how they go. But pretty much any scenario you can give, I can give an explanation for it. And you know, when the bacteria is eating at the whole body, it's probably dealing with the second chakra, first chakra, and or crown. Sometimes we have multiple chakra system disorders. I know two people who have like this chakra loop. One of them goes from second chakra to their throat. The other one goes from the first to their solar plexus. And what happens is the energy starts in the heart, simultaneously moves upwards, downwards at the same time. So it goes from fourth to third and fifth, from third and fifth to second and sixth, from second and sixth to first and seventh. And that's how it flows. But when it comes up through your chakras, it acts like a ground wire. So it goes through those without adding or detracting from it, only using it as a neutral basis point of energy flow. That's how the energy comes in from the earth. It leaves via crown chakra back into the grid system, or the electromagnetheric grid, whatever name people give it, the ley lines. It's been labeled millions of things, but it's the same basic idea. It leaves through there, and what happens in this loop is that the energy is coming up, and one of those chakras isn't grounded. So it shoots like an electric arc, just like you would if you didn't ground something right. It's arcing from one chakra to the next, and when it feeds back out from the heart, then it's doing the same thing. So you're bypassing chakras, it messes up your alignment, and that can cause lots of things. In those two people who I mentioned, I've seen both of them manifest some pretty serious illnesses within a short time, but they are also able to fix their illnesses when they realign with themselves very quickly. One of them has beat a cancer that was very bad, very big, throughout the entirety of this person's body. It was leukemia, blood cancer, so the entire body was affected by this one arcing chakra system, and that's kind of the mechanics of it. It's just very independently based on the person, the energy, their emotions, their mindset. All those things come into play to represent an energy of non-physical to physical and the exchange of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And, it's just hard to fathom that whenever I know I caught the first part when you're talking about those chakras, and how children get certain diseases, and somebody or some child that's otherwise healthy running around playing, and acts just by playing a sport or whatever, it gets this massive infection. It's hard to think that, or just really understand how that all comes into play for these type of people or entities.
Well, sure, and unless you are really aware of how a person vibrates, if you're not really aware of their beliefs and thoughts, it's really hard to pick that up, because honestly, a lot of people who seem to be very well put together, they have a lot of emotional things going on. Most people see me, they say, you can channel, you must be perfect. And I come in here all the time and talk about my imbalances and how I grow through them. So even the people who appear to be most aligned can often hold a lot of stuff in. There's the introvert and extrovert, and the people who internalize their issues really can hide them well sometimes. And when they do, all sorts of things are going on a subconscious level, on a conscious level, but also a quantum level. The quantum nature of our physical body allows energy to go through in ways that quantum mechanics in general, quantum physics is so counterintuitive. You see things happening in quantum physics that shouldn't happen. They don't manifest themselves out to the larger world. The micro, macro, cosmic universe that we know of, it doesn't manifest out in the same way. You could see an atom, you can see the way it works, and you can base a universal map just out of the small thing. But quantum physics doesn't allow us to show that bigger part. The reason it does is because the quantum physics themselves are the manifestations from non-physical to physical, and that's how the route of the energy works. It comes out in such weird, odd, mysterious ways that we can't comprehend, or even we can't predict because of that. Because this is a non-physical to physical, and the way our energy works, even though we've been given a map, even though we've been shown what and how this works, it is still very difficult to fathom. And that's why we simplify it. That's why we share it in a way that says, align yourself with yourself, less resistant, because that part's the easy part to understand. When we get into all the I hate to use the term, but some people call it the quasi-medical or the term is escaping me, but we'll go past that. When it goes past that part, it gets very difficult with the human mind to comprehend, and the mind itself is such a distraction. Our brain and mind are not intended to be the driving force in our life. Our hearts are, and when we tap into that heart, then we can find the truth. When you think of this counterintuitive nature that this works, it boggles you, it disturbs you, it frustrates you. But when you let it sit in your heart and just know that when you are aligned with your excitements, when you're happy, when you're joyous, when you're doing what you do without fear of judgment, rejection, or I guess any kind of punishment, then you can relax. Then the mind doesn't care so much because it feels right. And that's really why it's always been suggested to live into your heart system and to let your heart system be your discernment tool, because our minds aren't meant to discern things that we don't have a level of consciousness of understanding. And that is, it's rough, it's difficult. I understand that frustration that lies there. Just let me assure you, though, brother, that if you feel this thing with your heart and listen to the outcome instead of the income, it really can help you be at ease with that whole concept much more.
Well, thanks for that.
Absolutely, brother. I hate to do it, but this is the end of the show. We've got 4 minutes left, so I'm going to call that at that time. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for the wonderful, wonderful question that gave a lot of people insight as well as myself, so thank you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Taking my call, too.
Hey, no problem. I'm going to answer Savita's question really quickly. Treb weighs in on this in the last thing that I said about using that heart as discernment tool. That information was kind of handed down from him. They're explaining when you overcomplicate these things with your minds, it becomes very difficult. That if you can achieve a place of neutrality, but also achieve it within joy, excitement, and love, then it can benefit you. So that's kind of his little way in for that. I've got a couple of quotes here real quick. I'm trying to access them as we speak before we go. Okay, so a quote here is, sometimes illness is a gift for stubborn free spirits, an opportunity to clear out and let go. Yes, sometimes you live or go on to our version of non-physical, but you get back to who you truly are. This is a deeply spiritual experience for me, totally new experience. Teachings, painful, but my heart opened up. We're still perfect when we're sick. There is some stigma here on illness. Illness for me is a gift. A kick in the is my gift, kick in the ass, but loving the kick. This is directly from Kalina to all of you. She wanted to share her insight and inspiration. She also wants to let you know that when she gets out of the hospital, she gets a little time of resting. Her show will resume Friday evening. We've had a loving kick, not loving the kick. It's a loving kick in the ass. Thank you, Kalina, for clearing that up. She'll be back, and when she does, she's going to share her own personal story. And I'm here to tell all of you guys, this is an amazing story. Honestly, there are leaps and bounds that are done within her own mind and her own heart that never could have been done without this illness. And in my heart, I know why she got sick. She needed this for her own growth. And when you hear her story, you guys will be amazed. It is truly inspirational. It is truly magnificent. It is truly magical. And thank you, Kalina, so much for sharing your insights with us. Thank you, all the callers who have been in tonight. I think that this has been a very exciting and productive night tonight. Probably one of the best shows we've ever done, but I always think all of my shows are the best show because each time we step up the game that much more. We step up our own hearts, and we step up our own love for ourselves and for others. I want to let you guys know, thank you for your support. Channel panel, still within my excitement, so you're going to hear about it for at least another couple weeks. TrebChanneling.com. Go to sales, or go to shop tab, and then go down to audio and video. You could buy both of them there. If you're excited to listen to the channel panel, I love all of you guys with all my heart. This is the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with your host, Rob Gauthier, signing out for September 24th, 2014. I want to tell you that Enlightenment Evolution Hour is a part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. I am here every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The first Wednesday of the month, we will have Treb Channeling, where he takes all of your questions. The third week, we have a special guest. And all other weeks will either be a freestyle or a surprise guest. Join us every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you enjoy what you hear on this show, feel free to donate. Go to Treb Channeling and donate there. Or you can click on the link, tinyurl.com/DONATE, donate EEH for Enlightenment Evolution Hour. Again, that's www.tinyurl.com/donate EEH. I love you guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.